All right, so wow, already on to learning goal number 6. And I can find lines of symmetry. You're going to find out what that means today.
Now, hopefully, this should be somewhat of a review. I know you've probably talked about symmetry before.
So, just a couple vocab words to jot down in your math journal. Starting on a fresh new sheet of paper, you're going to write down what symmetry actually is. Symmetry is when you have a figure,
like a heart,
because we love ya, has two sides that can be folded in half to match perfectly.
Perfect! Stacked right on top of each other.
And when we think about the actual fold, that line that we see, the actual fold is called the line of symmetry. So this is our line of symmetry.
And you'll see things that are symmetrical in nature. For example,
here we have our little dog, not Shadow this time, but another dog, almost as cute. And so you're going to see here that we have two sides that if we folded this piece of paper in half, it would match perfectly. And that center line right there is the line of symmetry.
All right, so we're going to look at a few other examples of things that are symmetrical and things that aren't. So in this case, we have, again, another natural picture. You probably, when you learned about symmetry before, have made butterflies, but they look very symmetrical. If you could imagine folding these wings on top of each other, they would line up perfect. The letter A, if you fold it across, you would line up on top. Our pentagon here, we're going to talk a lot more about a pentagon later, but this is one of the lines of symmetry. If you fold this again right on that dotted line, it would stack on top. And H actually has more than one line of symmetry. If you were to fold it down, it would land on top of itself, and if you were to fold it across, it would also. So what, like hamburger or hot dog? So those are some examples of what symmetry is. Here are some examples of what is not symmetry. They're going to bounce in here. We have this big triangle. There is nowhere that I could place a line of symmetry where I could fold it and it would land on top of itself. So here's just an example of one, but that is definitely not. If I were to fold on here, this point would come way down here. So that does not stack on top of itself. Now this next one, boing, this triangle in here, if you look at, and when I look at this, I do see a line of symmetry. However, look at what I drew in. That is not a line of symmetry. If I fold there, this point is going to come down here. So again, this line is not a line of symmetry. However, if I were to draw a little dotted line down here and fold it that way, it is. Okay, so you got to be real careful where you put that line. It really needs to be exactly where you would fold it. And then the last one, our star. Again, the star actually does have some lines of symmetry, but this one is not one of them. Okay, if you look at it and I fold this, this has 2 points over here, this one has 3. So folding it on top there would not match up. So now you know some things that are and some things that aren't. So we are going to talk about things that have many lines of symmetry.
So we're going to look at that pentagon again, polygon with 5 sides. And when you look here, I think in the first example they showed just straight down the middle here, if we folded this in half, it would match perfectly. But then if you keep thinking about that, let's look at this next point right here. Like, and I'm drawing a line right at this point and extending that. Once again, I can fold this in half and we're going to have another line of symmetry. Then I can find this next point and draw that line right down the middle again, another line of symmetry. I find another point right here and draw that. I can fold it in half. It's going to match perfectly again.
That's a lot of lines of symmetry.
I know, it gets crazy. And then we have one more point to look at, and if I extended that line, this would be our actually 5th line of symmetry in a pentagon, because we start at 0 here. So here's another one. We have a square, and same thing. I can look at my points. If you want to start there, I have this point, and if I extend it through, this is going to create a line of symmetry. And then here's my other point, and extending that, I can fold that in half. It's going to match perfectly because it's a square. Then I can also look at this shape and think about just breaking it right in half here and folding it actually. And once again, sort of like with that H, we can fold it this way, and so it would fold right on top of each other and match perfectly again.
I don't know if you've noticed in the past, but a lot of times kids think that a rectangle will do the same thing.
Yes.
And just be cautious of a rectangle when you go, and I think you'll probably have to try that at some point in this when you do your practice problems. But watch the, remember, it's where it folds.
Yes.
Just because a rectangle and square have a lot in common does not mean that they have the same exact line of symmetry.
And here is just one more shape. Like, here's another, I know, it looks sort of crazy. Here's another pentagon that we just sort of talked about. You'll notice that these are they congruent? I'm trying to see if they're the same size or not, since we're talking about congruent.
Close.
Close. But anyway, let's just focus on this green shape here, this octagon. And once again, I like how they're numbered here because it does look sort of crazy, but if you just take number, like each line here, and think about it, this, if we folded it in half, it would match perfectly, and so on with all of these other points in lines. So you're going to look, and if you just took the time to look at each one here, these would all be lines of symmetry. So we have 8 lines of symmetry for this octagon. Interesting.
All right, so how do we find our lines of symmetry? So we are going to give you, we've talked about exactly what it means and how you fold it. That's really the easiest way to think about it. So now you get to try one. So we have this shape here, which is sort of a blown up arrow, blown up line, right? From Learning Goal 1,
yes.
Blown up line, so it goes on forever. What lines of symmetry would you have there? So try and draw that in, and then draw in where you think the lines of symmetry are. Just draw on your guess, and then come back, and we will check and see if you got it right. So pause this and try that. And now we'll take a look. So our first line of symmetry, if you look at this horizontal line going across, if you fold the top down on top of the bottom, it would land perfectly on top. So that is one, but are there more? Well, if you look at it, we could put a line here, fold it right over left. It would be another line of symmetry. So this one actually has 2. Now this next one, we're going to give you a hint. We're going to tell you there's 4 lines of symmetry, but we're not going to tell you where they are, and we're not going to tell you the answers. That's one of the things we're going to be checking for tomorrow. So take a look, draw this diamond in here, and draw in where you think the lines of symmetry are.
Oh, did you want to share?
Well,
Or just
is that our... And we're done. So see ya.
That's and shows. Yeah, yeah, yeah. 'Cause you make me feel